The morning of February 19th, 2026, will be etched into the memory of Hokkaido residents not as a typical winter day, but as the moment nature reclaimed the streets of Sapporo. What began as a standard seasonal low-pressure system transformed into a bomb cyclone of historic proportions, paralyzing Japan's fifth-largest city and trapping millions in a frozen whiteout. The Japan Meteorological Agency, JMA, had issued warnings 48 hours prior, but the sheer velocity of the cold air mass sweeping in from the Sea of Okhotsk caught even seasoned meteorologists off guard. By 6 a.m. on February 19th, the barometric pressure had plummeted, creating a pressure gradient that funneled Arctic winds directly into the Ishikari Plain. Wind speeds in downtown Sapporo were recorded at a sustained 26 meters per second, with gusts in the outlying Minami-ku district screaming at over 32 meters per second, approximately 115 kilometers per hour. This wasn't just falling snow, it was horizontal snow, a phenomenon where visibility drops to zero within seconds, known as a total whiteout. By the time the city's 1.9 million residents were finishing their breakfast, the infrastructure began to buckle. JR Hokkaido announced the total suspension of services on the Hakodate Main Line and the Chitose Line. Over 300 trains were canceled, leaving nearly 110,000 commuters stranded. The site of the iconic Sapporo station, usually a hive of activity, transformed into a silent, snow-caked monument. At New Chitose Airport, the gateway to Hokkaido, the scene was one of controlled chaos. Runways were swallowed by drifts faster than the heavy-duty snowplows could clear them. Over 95 flights were grounded by noon, forcing thousands of international and domestic tourists to set up makeshift camps in the terminal lounges. In the heart of the city, the famous Odori Park, just weeks after the conclusion of the snow festival, became unrecognizable. The statues of ice were buried under fresh, powdery drifts that accumulated at a rate of 10 centimeters per hour. I stepped outside to clear my driveway at 8 a.m., says Hiroshi Tanaka, a resident of Chuo. By 8:15 a.m., I couldn't see my neighbor's house across the street. The wind was so loud it sounded like a jet engine. I had to crawl back to my door using the railing because the world had simply disappeared into a wall of white. Public schools across the prefecture, totaling 345 institutions, were shuttered. The Hokkaido government issued an emergency stay-at-home order, the first of its kind for weather since the record-breaking storms of the early 2000s. Emergency services faced an impossible task. Ambulances were unable to navigate the unplowed side streets, leading to the deployment of specialized tracked vehicles from the Japan Self-Defense Forces, JSDF. In the Koganeiu area, snow depth reached a staggering 60 centimeters in just 24 hours, sparking fears of roof collapses on older wooden structures. Hospitals reported a surge in snow-related injuries, not from accidents, but from the physical toll of clearing heavy snow and carbon monoxide poisoning cases, where residents sat in running cars to keep warm, only for the exhaust pipes to be blocked by the rising drifts. Economists estimate that the Black Thursday blizzard of February 19th cost the Hokkaido economy billions of yen in lost productivity. Supply chains were severed. The trucks that normally bring fresh produce and dairy from the rural hinterlands to Sapporo's markets were lined up for miles on the closed Hokkaido Expressway. Logistics giants like Yamato Transport and Sagawa Express suspended all deliveries, citing life-threatening conditions for their drivers. The ripple effect was felt as far as Tokyo, as Hokkaido's famous seafood and dairy exports failed to reach the capital's dinner tables. Meanwhile, a Sapporo resident said, "It'll take a whole day today, including the back of the house. It can't be helped. We'll just have to bear it for another month or so. My grandchildren are being kept home from school because the snow is dangerous. The school is closed temporarily. This will come in handy." Due to the severe weather, a total of 341 elementary and junior high schools and elementary and junior high schools were temporarily closed. In response to snowdrifts and other issues, Sapporo City is urgently conducting snow removal operations, focusing on areas where road conditions have deteriorated. Since snow removal work will be carried out during the day, residents are being urged to refrain from unnecessary trips by car and from clearing snow from the roads. Transportation services are also experiencing disruptions. 295 JR trains have been suspended, including 28 express trains and 66 rapid airport trains. Additionally, 91 flights departing and arriving at new Chitose Airport were canceled, leaving the airport crowded with people rushing to complete procedures. One person who was planning to go to Osaka said, "Today I was planning to take my child on a plane for the first time to Universal Studios Japan." Another person who was planning to go to Tokyo said, "Actually, I have a venue scheduled for around 3:45 p.m. today, so I can't make it, so I'm sorry." The snow and cold are expected to subside tomorrow, the 20th, but caution is needed regarding worsening road conditions due to melting snow, as well as falling snow. A blizzard warning was issued for Sapporo, Hokkaido, on the morning of the 19th. The city was hit by a blizzard so intense that umbrellas were nearly broken. People were seen everywhere trying to brave the blizzard by pulling the hoods of their downcoats with their hands. A developing low-pressure system brought typhoon-like winds to Sapporo, and temperatures so cold that ice walls appeared in the Kanto region returned. Many people waiting for streetcars in Sapporo's Chuo ward also had their hoods up. One resident said, "I thought it would be okay, but when I looked outside, it was all white. I wondered what to do, so I called my kindergarten and said I'd be late, and now I'm on my way." Typhoon-like winds with maximum instantaneous wind speeds of 26 meters per second raged through Sapporo. Commuting and school commutes were impacted by side-blown snow. This blizzard caused a dangerous whiteout on Sapporo's roads, reducing visibility. Around 8 a.m., visibility was so poor on roads in Sapporo's Chuo ward that drivers could barely see the brake lights of cars ahead, making it difficult to even recognize pedestrians. Local residents commented, "It's a whiteout. The roads haven't been cleared at all. It's cold, isn't it? It feels like there's a lot more snow than usual." Snow accumulation also increased sharply. Until the 18th, the snow total was 87 centimeters, but since the morning, it has reached 1.5 meters. A woman who had already cleared snow 3 times this morning said, "In this blizzard, the snow gets packed and heavy. This is my 3rd time today, and it piles up so quickly. The wind makes it difficult to work, and even when I do, it all flies back. That's why it's a bit of a challenge." The blizzard also had a major impact on transportation. Express trains were temporarily suspended due to the snow, and passengers were seen getting off trains at JR Abetsu Station. At Sapporo Station, people lined up in the snowstorm, waiting for taxis and other transportation. At new Chitose Airport, the gateway to the skies, numerous flights were canceled, and many people were waiting at the counters, gathering information on their smartphones. Some children were even playing on the floor. A man who arrived to catch a 9:30 a.m. flight to Niigata said, "Q, will it fly as scheduled?" "I don't know. It doesn't seem like it'll be canceled, so I'll wait a little longer." A heavy snow warning was temporarily issued for the Sapporo area, and caution is needed regarding traffic disruptions. A strong wind warning was also issued for the Kanto region on the 19th. Around 6:20 a.m., dashcam footage captured in Niza City, Saitama, showed a sign from a building being torn off and falling, blocking the road. Comparing the image before the fall shows just how large the sign was. Photographer. Surprise. Had it been a typhoon day, people might have been prepared. But even though the wind was strong, it wasn't strong enough to blow anything away. I was shocked that something like this could happen so suddenly. A photo taken on the morning of the 19th in Sapporo, where a typhoon-force storm was raging, showed the interior of a car incredibly covered in snow. Snow had piled up, leaving the steering wheel in its original shape, and a huge pile of snow had formed on the driver's seat. What on earth had happened? It turns out, it was caused by a small gap in the car's window. Meanwhile, the cold of midwinter returned to the Kanto region. Around 1 p.m. on the 19th, snow began to fall in Minakami Town, Gunma Prefecture. The snow that had fallen since the night of the 18th had piled up about 5 centimeters on a bench, which had not been there on the 18th. A giant ice wall, the Nukugawa Ice Wall, has appeared in Higashiyagatsuma Town, Gunma Prefecture, formed when water seeping from a cliff froze. Yume Shimizu, City Planning Promotion Division, Higashiyagatsuma Town, Gunma Prefecture, said, "It's amazing what nature can create. It's not something we can create." Temperatures will soar in central Tokyo over the 3-day weekend starting on the 21st. Especially on the 23rd, Emperor's birthday, the predicted high temperature is 19 degrees Celsius, warm enough for late April. Even in snowy Hokkaido and Tohoku, temperatures are expected to be as warm as April, so caution is advised against falling snow and avalanches. The Japanese Meteorological Agency announced a snowfall warning for several locations on the island of Hokkaido in the early hours of Thursday. The statement was released at 2:47 a.m. local time and covers municipalities in the regions of Ishikari, Sorachi, and Shiribeshi. Conditions include intense winds that can reach 20 meters per second in inland areas and 16 meters per second in coastal areas, accompanied by snow that significantly reduces visibility. Authorities advise the population to remain alert until the end of the morning of February 19th. The most severe conditions are expected to peak in the early morning local time. Diverse cities already register the active alert and must constantly monitor official updates. The combination of strong wind and snow creates the risk of rapid accumulation on roads and roofs. Residents of affected regions need to consider the effects on daily mobility during the alert period. The warning mainly reaches the interior of the province where the wind blows predominantly from the west. Nessa's locations, the peak occurs early in the morning and requires extra attention from residents. Conditions are expected to persist until dawn in several spots. In cities like Yubari and Iwamizawa, winds can reach 20 meters per second. Snow carried by the wind forms deposits that interfere with the movement of vehicles and pedestrians. Local teams are monitoring the situation to ensure public safety. Reduced visibility due to blowing snow requires extra care for motorists who need to travel this morning. Roads may have sections with sudden accumulation of snow that makes it difficult for vehicles to traction. Autoridatis recommend checking conditions before any non-essential travel. In regions such as Sorachi, the alert covers main routes that connect urban centers to rural areas. Moving snow can create temporary barriers in exposed sections. Public transport also operates with adjustments to avoid longer delays. The intense wind contributes to the formation of snowdrifts along the roads. Motoristas must maintain a safe distance and reduced speed during the period of greatest intensity. Highway concessionaires monitor critical points in real time. In areas close to mountains, the risk of temporary blockages increases with snowfall. Maintenance crews work to clear paths as soon as conditions permit. The west wind predominates inland with gusts that reach the alert limit in cities such as Bibai and Mikasa. The falling snow is carried by the air, creating the classic blizzard effect. Forecasts indicate that the phenomenon reaches its peak before sunrise. In areas of Shiribeshi, the wind changes to the northwest in some sections and maintains a speed of 16 meters per second. Precipitation combined with this flow creates low visibility conditions for several hours. Residents should avoid prolonged outdoor exposure. The amount of accumulated snow could reach 40 centimeters in some points by the end of the afternoon, according to regional estimates. The wind redistributes the material, increasing the volume in open places. Local measurements confirm the varying intensity depending on altitude. In locations such as Naganuma and Kuriyama, the pattern is repeated with consistent winds from the west. The combination of these elements defines the typical snowfall scenario in the central region of Hokkaido. Weather stations record data continuously. Coastal cities face simultaneous warning of high waves that could reach 6 meters by dawn. The wind coming from the sea contributes to the increase in wave height. Pescadores and port operators receive specific guidance for the period. At points such as Otaru and bight structures are monitored to prevent damage caused by the force of water. Navigation is restricted during peak hours. The avalanche warning remains active until the 20th in practically all the locations mentioned. Strong wind deposits snow on slopes in an unstable manner and increases the likelihood of landslides. Areas close to mountains such as Niseko and Kuchan require special attention from residents and visitors. In valleys and slopes in the Shirabashi regions, snow carried by the wind forms layers that can come off easily. Civil defense bodies monitor signs of instability on the ground. The public should avoid trails and elevated areas during the warning period. Inland cities such as Yubari and Iwamizawa also register the same avalanche warning, although on a smaller scale than mountainous areas. Rapid accumulation of snow on slopes close to highways may cause occasional outages. Specialized teams carry out preventive inspections whenever necessary. In villages like Minamihoro and Uni, the risk is concentrated in areas with rugged terrain where the wind directs the snow to specific points. Residents know the most vulnerable places and follow established protocols. Surveillance continues until the end of the 20th in accordance with official guidance. The combination of snowfall and potential avalanches requires careful planning on the part of those who live or work in elevated areas. Official communications update the situation hour by hour to keep the population informed. Emergency services remain ready to act if incidents occur. The locations of Sriracha register the alert uniformly, with a focus on the strong west wind. Urban structures support the load of accumulated snow when the phenomenon occurs with this intensity. Municipal teams work to keep main roads passable. In Iwamizawa and Bibai, the wind and snow pattern is repeated throughout the dawn and morning. Visibility fluctuates depending on the intensity of the gusts. Residents follow guidelines to protect property and vehicles. The Meteorological Agency maintains constant monitoring and issues updates as the system evolves. Affected cities are preparing contingency plans to deal with the effects of the snowfall. The return to normality occurs gradually after the end of the main alert. The Shirabashi zones combine blizzard warnings with wave and avalanche warnings. The northwest wind predominates in areas close to the sea and influences local conditions. BITs operate with restrictions until mid-morning. Cities like Kuchan and Niseko record the same wind and precipitation parameters. Carried snow affects both road traffic and outdoor activities. Ski resorts track data for operational decisions. The general alert covers a significant area of the central island and requires coordination between different municipalities. Regional authorities reinforce the precautionary message for the entire population involved. Conditions progressively improve throughout the 19th. Weather stations record local variations in wind and snow intensity throughout the early hours. Real-time data allows for adjustments to guidance as needed. The population receives updated information through official channels. In short, the alert covers multiple cities and requires continuous attention until the end of the morning. Wind and snow conditions define the current scenario in central Hokkaido. Authorities are monitoring the situation to ensure the safety of all residents.